Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Matt, and today I'm bringing you another deck matchup, this time Eldlich against Floowandereeze. Alright, so this is actually the finals of this online tournament that I've been a part of. That's why all these games have been on Dueling Book, right? I'll talk about the tournament results later. I am planning to drop an updated Eldlich deck profile. So yeah, stay tuned for that. But on that video, I will be commenting on what this tournament was about. Not just this tournament, like this is one online tournament, but I've been playing Eldlich in the last few locals I've been attending, and to quite some good success. So anyway, yeah, I just wanted to show you what the final match looked like. It was against a Floowandereeze player, and I'm gonna be honest, it was not close. I expected it to be close, so this online tournament was technically single elimination, but you can buy in like an additional life, quote unquote. So it's kind of like double elim. So I did lose to him previously because I just kind of got really unlucky with my draws, and I did make a few like side deck mistakes that I regret. But in this last game, I sided correctly, and I got everything I needed. It was great. All right, so let's get started. But yeah, Floowandereeze. If you're Eldlich against Floowandereeze, this is how you win. It's more straightforward than you realize. All right, so let's get started. All right, so we go papers. We go rock. And finally, I beat him rock against scissors. All right. So I do choose to go first here in game one. All right. So just right off the bat, this is already an amazing starting hand. Usually, Skill Drain is a card that Floowandereeze just instantly loses to, right? So Skill Drain negates monster effects on the field, right? So the only way that Floowandereeze can play around Skill Drain is if they have like Book of Moon and Advent of Adventure in their hand, right? So they'll need to summon Robina, activate its effect, chain Book of Moon or Advent of Adventure, right, to get Robina either off the field or face down, right? And then on Eaglin, activate Eaglin's effect, and then chain the other quick play that they didn't use, and then they can get their M pen out. And even when they get their M pen out, they don't, unless they have more Book of Moons, they actually can't activate M pens on summon effect, and they can't, activate his battle effect either. So he's just a 2700 beater. So yeah. Anyway, so pretty solid opening hand. I have two of the Eldlich pieces. Honestly, only needed one, but two is fine. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and activate Lord of the Heavenly Prison. All right, and then set 4. So he's gonna go into Prosperity with Skill Drain on the field. I basically am not worried at all about what he's gonna be doing. So he D-shifters, which doesn't really matter. So Eldlich is very easy to play around D-shifter. Just make sure you don't send your Eldlich, you don't get your Eldlich off the field when it's live. And yeah, try to avoid using sending too many of the Eldlich traps off the field, as you'll see. All right, so he keeps the Eaglin. Map, summons Eaglin, sends Robina, and I immediately skill drain. So at this point, yeah, he's done summoning. He just goes in the battle phase. So I allow him to attack me. So what I could do is, on declaration, I could flip, Waquero to avoid 800 damage, and that will allow me to immediately trigger Lord of the Heavenly Prison and get that on the field. However, I want to trigger Lord of the Heavenly Prison in the end phase, just in case he has anything sneaky to do in main phase 2. I want him to do his main phase 2 before I pull the trigger on Lord of Heavenly Prison. So this is just a personal choice, honestly. Like, you could have done it here in battle phase, it would have been fine. I just thought that 800 life points isn't that big a deal, right? It's like the cost of Cursed Eldland. But I felt like putting it off to the end phase was better than doing it in battle phase. Alright. So in the end phase, I'm going to summon Waquero, get the Lord, and then using Lord to set Elixir, right? So because we're under D-Shifter, I have to wait a whole turn before I can get Waquero into the graveyard, so I'm not going to get Elixir. So I'm just going to set Elixir using Lord of the Heavenly Prison's effect from the hand, right? So I draw a Power Duality. I'm not going to play it because it locks you out of special summoning. So instead, I'm going to use Elixir to bring out my Eldlich. Attack. Attack. And attack. So yeah, at this point, I don't see how he can really win. Let's see what his hand is. So he has another D-Shifter, a Simorg, a Mystic Mine. Yeah, his hand is not great. He has no out to the skill drain. There's no way he can play around it. I have a 2500 beater, a 3k beater. D-Shifter is no longer active, so now I can now send my Golden Land traps to the graveyard, right? So he activates Mystic Mine on end phase. I'm gonna pop it with Conquistador. So it turns out Conquistador did end the second Eldlich piece did end up mattering. But yeah, so we are in game 2. So game 2, before we get into game 2, let's talk about side decking, right? So I told you that I lost against him previously, right? So one side deck blunder that I made. So against Floowandereeze, you should always side out D Barrier and Ice Dragon's Prison, right? D Barrier because you know, there's literally no point to having D Barrier in your main deck against Floowandereeze. You should also side out Ice Dragon's Prison because first of all, they likely may not even have targets in their graveyard to banish, and you don't really want to banish their birds anyway because that usually only helps them. And like emptying their graveyard means that they might be able to play D-Shifter more likely. So you don't want Ice Dragon's Prison against Floowandereeze. So yeah, so those definitely come out. So the mistake I made in the previous time I faced this guy is I took out Dogmatic Punishment, and the reason I took those out is because Dogmatic Punishment does nothing against when under D-Shifter. You literally can't even send anything to the graveyard, right? So yeah, you like can activate it, you send Entis Banish to the Banish pile, and it does nothing, right? So yeah, Dogmatic Punishment under Shifter does nothing. And if you're not under Shifter, you try to target one of their birds, they can chain Book of Moon, which will cause Dogmatic Punishment to fizzle, or they can chain Advent of Adventure, which will also cause it to fizzle. So Punishment is not great against Floowandereeze. However, there is an important use for it, and the reason that you want to still have it is because you want to out the Wind Barrier statue. So the Wind Barrier statue and also the Unexplored Winds are two really, really annoying cards to deal with, probably the most annoying for Eldlich to deal with. If you can out one or both, you can win the game, right? So, yeah, so keep Punishment in, which I did in this game. Even if they do Book of Moon, their statue, hey, statue's no longer active, right? Or even if they banish it with Advent, it's no longer active, right? So, as long as if Punishment forces them to do either lose their statue or like save it via one of their quick play spells, right? In any case, right? I always side in Heavy Storm Duster because, like I said before, Floowandereeze's one of the bane of Eldlich existence for Floowandereeze is obviously the Unexplored Winds, so you definitely want to get rid of that ASAP. And also, if their map is active, it'd be nice to get rid of their map too. And depending on when you use your Heavy Storm Duster, you can actually take out their Dreamy Town before they can use it on your main phase, right? Because Dreamy Town can only activate on your main phase, so if you take it out before that, then they won't be able to use it. So I like Heavy Storm Duster here. I also side out Pot of Dualities to fit all this, and I put in my Lord of Heavenly Prison. I used to side in Lava Golem against Flu, but the problem with that is like, well, Flu, if they have their barrier statue, you're not going to be able to Lava Golem them anyway. So I just stopped like pretending that Lava Golem's going to do anything. So yeah, so I just put in 3 Lords of Heavenly Prison. That way, if they side in like Twin Twisters or whatever, your back row's protected. Yeah, obviously it doesn't protect from Ryza, but Ryza is not that big a deal. Not as big a deal as Unexplored Winds or the Windberry statue. So anyway, so he chooses to go first, so I'm going second. I have a pretty okay hand, right? So let's see what happens. So he's gonna Shifter. So the fact that he shifted means that my Eldlich is dead in the hand. Another way to out the Barrier statue or Unexplored Winds is on your turn, you send Eldlich to the graveyard with a trap, and then you take out the Barrier statue or whatever. Obviously, Shifter turns it off because you can no longer send Eldlich to the graveyard as cost, right? So, yeah, this Eldlich is dead in the hand for now. Alright. So he summons Robina. Yep, very standard combo. Robina into Eaglin, Eaglin into Empen. Empen into Dreamy Town. All very standard. Alright, so he did hard draw the Unexplored Winds, which is unfortunate because it's really annoying to deal with. Alright, so the main thing here is I have to make sure that, he is going to summon on my turn, right? He is going to use his Dreamy Town on my turn. I have no way to stop that. And he is going to use Unexploded Winds to tribute one of my cards, right? It's going to be one of my back row. There's no way to avoid it. The trick is I need to get him to tribute the correct card, okay? Very important. Now, this is where, like, some 5-dimensional chess comes in here. All right. So the last time I played him, I made him aware that I play Broken Lion, okay? So he knows that I have Broken Lion in my deck, and he kind of can see how I have, like, somewhat of a pattern of the way I set cards, right? So I'm going to set my back row in a way to make him think I have broken line. So check this out. What do I mean by that? All right. So let's fast forward here. So I'm going to activate Lord of Heavenly Prison. This is great. All right. So for a few things to note. All right. So why did I set this way? So of my 4 trap cards, the one I want him to tribute most is Solemn Strike. Why Solemn Strike? Well, the thing is, against Floowandereeze, Solemn Strike isn't that great because there's so much chain blocking involved. It's really hard to actually get Solemn Strike to go off when you want it to. So, by the way, I actually sided out Solemn Strike for this game. So I'm at 2 Solemn Strike right now, down from 3, because I wanted to fit in other cards, and I felt like these Solemn Strikes aren't that high impact against Floowandereeze. So Solemn Strike is my least impactful card. But notice how I set my cards, okay? So, no, in game 1, I set my cards in a symmetrical manner, right? I had 2 cards on the leftmost column, 2 cards on the rightmost column. And yet, I set a card in the middle here, breaking the symmetry, and in the same column where Unexplored Winds is. The middle column. The middle column is always a column that, is popular for people to play cards in. So I'm actually trying to make him think that I have Broken Line in the middle column here. See, I did side in Broken Line. I do have it in my deck. I just didn't draw it, right? But again, you have to play these mind games, right? You have to change your pattern of how you set cards sometimes because it might give away some information. Because if I did have Broken Line, so I know that this set card is Dreamy Town. There's no point in setting Broken Line on the same column as Dreamy Town because he's going to activate it this turn, right? Setting it in the same column as Unexplored Winds, which happens to be the middle column, is, So here's the thing. People don't know about Broken Line, and I don't think he knows either. So Broken Line can negate monster effects and spell trap cards in the same column, right? So it can't actually negate spell trap effects in the same column, right? So actually, Broken Line doesn't threaten Unexplored Winds at all. This is kind of a fake out, but, part of me is hoping like he doesn't remember. But also, if he does normal summon to the middle column, which a lot of people just instinctually do, he doesn't want to have to deal with that either, or he doesn't want to have to deal with forgetting, oh, I'm summoning to the I should not summon in the middle column, right? So there is that mind game at play here, right? So let's see if my gamble pays out, right? Because again, my other side cards are more important. I have Heavy Storm Duster, which can clear his back row, right? So if Heavy Storm Duster survives, I will take out Unexplored Winds, and also probably a map. Punishment can also take out Unexplored Winds, right? If I Punishment a little bird and just pop the Unexplored Winds. And of course, Trap Trick, I definitely don't want to lose because it just gives me access to whatever trap card I need for the situation, right? So that's my play here. So I attempt to end main phase, and he's gonna activate Dreamy Town. Note he normal summons Eaglin, not in the middle column. I think he knows, or he suspects that there is a Broken Line there, right? And here's the thing: once he fills his field, he'll inevitably have to use the middle column anyway. So he knows this potential Broken Line negating my column here, or basically making it so I can't play with the middle column is really annoying, right? In his mind. That's my guess, right? So check this out. So he gets the Robina, right? And he gets the Apex Avion. So I'm guessing, alright, he's gonna tribute summon Apex Avion using Eaglin and one of my whatever, right? So let's see what happens. So he actually normal summons Robina to the middle column, which is kind of surprising actually. Oh, well, actually no, because Broken Line isn't active anyway this turn because I just said it. So yeah, that's a silly point. But anyway, he grabs the statue of Stormwinds, right? And he goes ahead but he does summon his Apex Avion to the not middle column because in a future turn he's expected to use Apex Avion to negate a card, and he doesn't want me to stop him. So if he summoned to the middle column, in the future turn, if he tries to use Apex Avion to negate, I can chain Broken Line and negate him, right? So he does take my bait, and he does tribute the Solemn Strike. So everything so far is working out exactly as I'd hoped, right? So he's out of normal summons. Alright, it's back to my main phase still. I'm going to go ahead. Alright, so on draw phase, check this out. On draw phase, I'm going to attempt, because I don't want him, let's say he already has a level 7 bird in hand. I don't want him to tributing any of these back row. I want to make sure I get rid of Unexplored Winds before he starts normal summoning on his main phase, right? So I'm going to target Robina here. If he lets us go through, I'll pop Robina, and Tis will pop Unexplored Winds. That's my hope, right? So let's see what happens. So he is going to chain Apex Avion to negate Dogmatic of Punishment, alright? Oh, that's exactly what I wanted him to do. I really, really, really hope that he would do that. Because here's why. So check this out. So Chainlink 1 Punishment, Chainlink 2 Avion Negate. Yes, I'm just confirming with him. Chainlink 3 Trap Trick, baby. And guess what trap I'm gonna search here? Witch's Strike, baby. Witch's Strike. Yes, the Witch's Strike is coming back with a vengeance. You know, I didn't get to use Witch's Strike against him in the previous game where he beat me, right? I didn't get Skill Drain. I didn't get a lot of my good cards. But now, Witch's Strike is back against this motherfucker with a vengeance, alright? So now, that resolves, right? So, Avion resolves. Dogmatic of Punishment gets negated. And now, on a new chain, I activate Witch's Strike, baby. Hell yeah. Which means all of his cards will be destroyed and get sent to the graveyard, with the exception of Robina. Robina's on the field, right? But every other card, 5 cards in his hand, 6 cards in his hand. Let's see what his hand looks like. Avion, Cyclone, Called by the Grave, Barrier Statue, Eaglet. All these are going to the graveyard, not banish, right? And obviously M-Pen is going, yeah. So he's going to chain Cosmic Cyclone and like pay me back by taking out the Heavy Storm Duster. But again, Heavy Storm Duster doesn't matter anymore because he will no longer have any back row for me to clear, right? So, ooh, look at that. Everything is gone, baby. Hell yeah. And since I have the Lord of Heavenly Prison in hand from last turn, I'm going to special summon that sucker and set the Eldlich. So I'm going into his turn with a 3k beater and Eldlich in hand. Alright. This next part is where I misplay a little bit. So, the most hilarious irony of this game is I do draw a broken line now. So that's hilariously ironic, right? So here's where I misplay it. So I have OTK here. I just didn't realize it until it was too late. So I activated Eldlich here, which is not the correct move because why? Eldlich, for those of you who may have forgotten, locks you into only summoning zombies afterwards. So I cannot attack directly with both my ranked level 10s and then go into a rank 10 Gustav play. So this is a misplay. What I should have done, I should have used the Eldlich in my hand, send it to the graveyard with broken line, target Eldlich. So Eldlich says target 1 card on the field. Doesn't matter what field it is, right? So that will send the Eldlich to the graveyard. I can then activate Eldlich in the graveyard, banish it to set Huaquero on my field, and then activate Eldlich in the graveyard, send Huaquero for cost, summon itself, swing for 3k, swing for 35, main phase 2, make Gustav max, and then burn for the rest of it. So I had OTK here, but I fucked up, and I accidentally activated Eldlich. I actually tried to unactivate it, because I even say in the chat, actually I will not activate. Is that okay? And then he's like, no, you activated. I'm like, all right. So he doesn't want to let me undo that. Fine. Like, maybe because he knows like I lost the OTK. Whatever. But I mean, at this point, it doesn't really matter, right? So I'm going to set Broken Line in the middle column. The column that he feared this whole time, right? So I have follow-up. I have, obviously, Eldlich in hand. If I draw a trap, I can send a card to graveyard. I have a conch that I can set, right? Let's see what he drew. He drew Advent of Adventure. I mean, let's think about this. So 1 Robina is gone, right? 2 Robinas are gone. 2 of his boss birds are gone. So he has M-Pen and he has Apex Avion. So I don't actually see how he could possibly win this. Like, the only way I can see is he top decks his 1 Robina, right? Uses it to search Eaglin, and then gets Mega Ryza out, I guess, and then he bounces 1, like, I don't know. I don't see a great path for him to victory, right? Obviously, I messed up because I had an OTK opportunity, and I messed it up. So I do recognize that. So before you comment in the columns, you don't know what you're doing, you know, you had OTK. Yes, I was just so excited from activating Witch's Strike that it just went over my head. So yeah, hilarious, right? But you know, he draws Advent of Adventure, which is not enough, and he's gonna go and surrender Reno, right? So, oh man, that was beautiful because like the last match I played against him, it was best 2 out of 3. I won one, he won 2, right? So it was a close game, and I would say like the reason I ended up losing is because I had like one, I kind of fumbled side decking, but two, like I had extremely bad luck of the draw. Like no skill drain in any game, didn't get my Witch's Strike, like just didn't get a lot of cards that would have been useful, right? But yeah, that was an extremely satisfying victory. I only wish that I had actually performed the OTK, so that would have been like just the cherry on top of this beautiful, beautiful game. Yeah, Witch's Strike is so incredible. Like, you absolutely have to main deck this as Eldlich. I did, like, again, I main deck Witch's Strike mainly for the adventure package because everyone is playing adventure and adventure is an Omnigate. There's also Barone, which is an Omnigate, right? But it comes in clutch against what is it? Invoked Mechaba. Comes in clutch against Floowandereeze, Apex Avion. Comes in clutch against Dragon Link, right? Their Borreload Savage is an Omnigate, right? Can come in clutch against Appaloosa, right? There's so many ways it can come in clutch, even in other matchups that don't necessarily use the adventure package. So yeah, yeah, glorious, glorious victory. Definitely, only would have been flawless if I had done the OTK, but that's okay. But yeah, so I won this online tournament that I'll tell you guys about later in my Eldlich deck profile. Um, but yeah, man, that was so satisfying. But yeah, that's how you beat Floowandereeze. Skill drain and they scoop, or you could just blow them out like with Witch's Strike on Apex Avion. I mean, there's other ways too, like Goes to Match can lock them into only winds or only waters, like Needle Sealing and Torrential Tribute. Like, they're I've won against Floowandereeze in other ways, but these two ways were just like perfect, very encapsulating of the matchup. All right. So I hope you all enjoyed. Thanks for watching. This is not an April Fool's video, even though it's dropping on April 1st, as I've said in the start of the video. Yeah, go see my actual April Fool's video. I dropped it earlier today. I had a lot of fun with that. I had a blast. Thank you all for the kind words and the support and the positive feedback on that. But yeah, thanks for watching. See you on the next video. Peace.